I was just thinking, President Biden signed away our sovereignty and autonomy to WHO, the World Health Organization. And here's Fox's story on that. Tell me what you think about it.
Oh, they're back. The World Health Organization, you love them, admit it. They're now warning of the potential of another pandemic. And buckle up, it could be 20 times worse than COVID-19.
Anything happening is a matter of when, not if. So we need to have a placeholder for that, for the disease we don't know that may come. And that was when we gave the name Disease X.
Oh my God, he even sounds like a complete fiend, doesn't he? Well, but according to the WHO Director General, his new global pandemic agreement, which contains a lot of really bad stuff, is at risk of falling apart.
The IMB and the IHR working group are operating amid a torrent of fake news, lies, and conspiracy theories. We cannot allow this historic agreement, this milestone in global health, to be sabotaged by those who spread lies, either deliberately or unknowingly.
Well, let me just tell you, the proposed treaty that has a deadline of May 2024, it would give the WHO control of international supply chains, and it also emphasizes race and equity, among other things. Joining me now, Dr. Scott Atlas, Hoover Institution Senior Fellow, former Trump White House COVID advisor. Now, Dr. Atlas, when I hear him talk about disease X, there's nothing wrong with, idea of planning and everyone try to be prepared. There's nothing wrong with that. But boy, they shattered their credibility on so many issues. And most people, they hear this and they think plandemic. That's what most people are thinking now.
Well, Laura, you've hit on something here, which is the shattering. The WHO has shattered trust in public health agencies, along with our own CDC and our own leaders, by the way. Why? Because they issued pseudoscience-based mandates. They issued erratic guidance. They had no transparency when it counted, when people were afraid. And the reality is, you're right, the accord is a problem because it, A, circumvents Congress, so there's no approval, and it's legally binding. And the problem is not just the mentions of equity more than a dozen times and other social things, it defines health emergency in your country. And that's the gateway for all kinds of mandates that we've just lived through. It also regulates IP. It requires distribution. It affects pricing of goods. I mean, no sovereign nation would want to do that. And the problem is, under this director, Tedros, the WHO is the greatest purveyor of misinformation, rivaling our own Fauci, Birx, and our own CDC. They back China's lies that said there was no human-human transmission. They praised China's transparency. In January 2020 and February 2020, they literally backed China covering up and blocking the WHO itself from investigating the lab in Wuhan.
I remember,
in January
we covered
2021. And then, yeah, I mean, this is outrageous. They called China, Tedros specifically said China is a model of pandemic management with the most barbaric human rights violations, since in our modern history. By the way, Tedros is a liar in terms of being the health administrator before he was head of WHO of Ethiopia when he covered up a cholera outbreak. This is ridiculous. It's absurd. And they have a dismal record for 15 years dating back to H1N1 flu, Ebola, Zika, repeatedly. There's absolutely no sane reason why we would sign on to something like that. We have leverage. The WHO is funded by many nations. We're the #1 funder, $400 million plus per year of U.S. taxpayer money is funding them. And the bottom line is this. Number one, no to binding centralized agreements, no to any more funding at all, to me, for the WHO until there's a change of leadership. And the biggest thing on the table with WHO is we need to investigate what happened and bring some accountability to their gross incompetence and overt malfeasance.
All right, Dr. Atlas, accountability #1, and that includes Fauci and everyone else here for what they did. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Well, this is Thoughts While Thinking, and I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate you subscribing. I hope that presentation on Fox was of interest to you, and we got to look at something we can do about all this stuff. And right now, it's adios amigos.